Hey guys, welcome back to Beyond the Box Score, and I am your host Hayat. Today we're breaking down 6 NBA matchups on February 25th, and I'm doing it the only way I know how, thinking out loud, connecting the fatigue spots, the revenge angles, the back-to-backs, the travel, the trends, the numbers, all of it. No surface takes, no lazy narratives. We're digging into scheduling squeezes, third games in 4 nights, revenge spots, ATS splits, and asking the real question every single time: does the number make sense for how this game could actually unfold? This is pure analysis and opinion, no guarantees, no promises. Just how I see the slate setting up if these matchups play out the way the data and situations suggest. We've got Memphis catching points in a fatigue spot, Spurs on a heater, Pistons in a scheduling edge, Cavaliers in a tricky back-to-back, Rockets in revenge mode, and a potential finals-type showdown with Denver and Boston. There's a lot to unpack, so let's lock in and start connecting the dots. Memphis Grizzlies vs Golden State Warriors. The lean here is Memphis plus 2.5. Let me walk through why. I'm looking at a Memphis Grizzlies team sitting at 21-35 on the year and 2-5-3-0-1 against the number this season, and yeah, on the surface that's not sexy. That's not a team you just blindly back, especially after they lost to Sacramento Kings 123-14, but what connects for me is the context around this matchup. Because Golden State Warriors come in 30-27 on the year, and they're entering the first half of a back-to-back, they're playing New Orleans Pelicans on Tuesday night, and now we're talking about a back-to-back with travel, specifically travel from New Orleans to Memphis. I don't care if that's not the farthest flight in the world. It's still a back-to-back with travel, and more importantly it's a third game in 4 nights. And I always zoom out in spots like this. Golden State was able to take advantage of Denver when Denver was in a third game in 4 nights situation, and that Denver game was at home for Golden State. Now flip it. Now Golden State is the team in a third game in 4 nights. Now they're on the road. And they've been less effective on the road this season. That's the swing. If this matchup plays out like a grind, like a tired legs game late, I trust the fresher home team catching Memphis at home in what is clearly a revenge spot. Because don't forget, February 9th in Golden State, that was a 1-point game. Golden State won 114, 1-1-1-3. That's tight. That's not dominance. That's coin flip territory. And Memphis dropped 6 of their last 7 games, so yeah, people will look at that and say, why would you back that? But one path I see here is desperation plus pride. They're trying to bounce back after that 123-14 loss to Sacramento, and even with the trade deadline moves, shifting guys out, sending guys elsewhere, most notably Jaren Jackson Jr. They're still competing. Meanwhile Golden State is still banged up and could still be missing Steph Curry. So you're asking me to lay points with a team in a third game in 4 nights, on a back-to-back with travel, less effective on the road, possibly without Steph Curry, and currently getting the work from New Orleans. That's a lot. What connects for me is the fatigue spot colliding with a revenge angle. Memphis could win this game outright. So I'm grabbing Memphis plus 2.5, and yeah, that's why the lean sticks at Memphis plus 2.5. San Antonio Spurs vs Toronto Raptors. The lean here is San Antonio, lay the points. Let me walk through why. I can't fade the Spurs right now, I just can't. This team is fully healthy, and when they're fully healthy they're one of the best teams in the NBA. They won 9 straight. They covered 8 of their last 10. That's not just winning. That's cashing. That's form plus market performance lining up. And I tried to fade them in their last game and lost. I refuse to fade Spurs again until they cool down. Because what connects for me is the health trajectory. Earlier in the season they were missing Devin Bell for a while. De'Aaron Fox was gone for a while. But now they're fully healthy, and when they're fully healthy they look like an absolute wagon. And now look at the scheduling. Toronto Raptors are on the back end of a back-to-back. They're playing the Thunder on Tuesday. The Thunder are defending champs, and even though there's no SGA and no Jub, that's still a game you have to show up for. Then immediately you turn around and play a rested Spurs team. If this matchup plays out like a physical, full 48-minute execution battle, I trust the rested team on a 9-game win streak that's covered 8 of their last 10 over a Raptors team on the back end of a back-to-back. One path I see here is fatigue showing up in the 4th quarter, and San Antonio just keeps pressing, keeps scoring, keeps executing. And until the Spurs cool down, I'm not stepping in front of it. I'm not overthinking this. I'm not trying to be cute. They're winning games, they're covering games, they're fully healthy, and they're an absolute wagon right now. So give me San Antonio. Lay the points. Lay all the points you need to. Yeah, that's why the lean stays at San Antonio, lay the points. Now we have OKC Thunder versus Detroit Pistons, the lean here is Pistons -6. Let me walk through why. I'm staring at Pistons laying 6 points with a total of 218.5, and yeah, I know what you're thinking because I'm thinking it too, this will be my third straight game fading the Thunder. I took Pistons versus Spurs in their last game and that was a loss. I took Cavs versus Thunder and that was a loss. So now I'm stepping back in and fading the Thunder again. That's uncomfortable. But what connects for me is the situational stack here. The Thunder are on the back of a back-to-back. They play the Raptors on Tuesday. They're playing a game out in Canada on Tuesday, and then they travel into Detroit. That's the back end of a back-to-back with travel layered on top. And this isn't a fully loaded Thunder team either, they're without SGA and without J-Dub. So if this matchup plays out like fatigue creeps in during the third and fourth quarter, I don't know how they handle a Pistons team that's tough, physical, and doesn't play around. One path I see here is Detroit coming out angry because they're coming off a brutal loss against the Spurs. And when a team like Detroit that prides itself on being tough and physical is coming off a brutal loss, that's usually a response spot. Now yes, OKC played great in that Cleveland Cavaliers game. I watched that one. Those boys couldn't miss. They could not miss. But can you replicate that on the back end of a back-to-back, without SGA, without J-Dub, after playing in Canada on Tuesday and then traveling into Detroit? That's where I pause. Because I love the Raptors in that spot Tuesday versus Thunder specifically because OKC has this Pistons game on deck. That tells me the scheduling squeeze is real. What connects for me is the Thunder being stretched thin, while Detroit is at home, angry, physical, and looking to impose themselves through 4 quarters. If this turns into a grind at 218.5, I trust Detroit's physicality more in a fatigued environment. And yeah, it's uncomfortable fading OKC again, but the spot is the spot. Lay the points with Pistons. Pistons -6. And that's why the lean sticks at Pistons -6. Quick pause, if you've got an even one lean you like so far on this February 25th slate, hit that like button. That tells me these full NBA breakdowns are worth grinding through every single game. And if you rock with the raw, thinking out loud style, no fluff, no scripted nonsense, hit subscribe. It takes you 1 second, but it means everything for the channel and helps Beyond the Box Score keep growing. Now let's get back into it because the scheduling spots only get more interesting from here. Next game Cleveland Cavaliers versus Milwaukee Bucks. The lean here is Cavaliers laying 7.5, but I'm staying away. Let me walk through why. Cavaliers laying 7.5 points on the road with a total of 226.5, and immediately I'm thinking this is a tough game because both teams are on a back-to-back. Cavaliers play Tuesday. They're playing Knicks. It's a tough game. It's at home. And then they have to turn around for this one. The Bucks also play Tuesday. They're playing Heat. They're at home. They're also on the back of a back-to-back. So what connects for me first is that both teams are in similar rest situations, but not identical matchups. The Cavaliers are playing Knicks, which is a tough game, while the Bucks are playing Heat. And the Bucks get to stay at home. They don't have to play Knicks. So the spot is slightly better for Milwaukee because they stay at home and they play Heat instead of Knicks. That matters. But when I zoom out to roster and ceiling, I keep coming back to the Cavaliers since getting James Harden. They just have more firepower than Bucks. And yes, the Bucks have been playing decently as of late, even without Giannis. I'm not dismissing that. In fact, I'm on Bucks Tuesday versus Heat. So it's not like I hate this Bucks team. But if this matchup plays out like a pure talent test over 48 minutes, I lean Cleveland because of that firepower edge. The question becomes, does the back-to-back neutralize that edge? One path I see here is both teams being a little heavy-legged, total sitting at 226.5, pace slightly compromised, and then it becomes who has the better shot makers late. And I lean Cavaliers there. But do I love laying 7.5 on the road in a back-to-back spot after a tough game versus Knicks? Not really. That's why I'm not rushing to bet this game. That's why I say stay away from this one. The lean is Cavaliers laying 7.5 because of roster advantage and firepower since getting James Harden, but the scheduling spot gives Milwaukee a slight situational edge. Because they stay at home and play Heat instead of Knicks. So yeah, I'll lean Cavaliers laying 7.5, but I'm staying away. And that's why the lean remains Cavaliers laying 7.5. Here we go with next game, Houston Rockets vs Sacramento Kings. The lean here is Houston laying the points. Let me walk through why. I'm looking at Houston Rockets sitting at 35-21 on the year and 25-31 against the number this season. And yeah, that 25-31 against the number jumps out because it tells me they haven't exactly been a covering machine. But then I flip over to Sacramento Kings at 13-46 on the year and 22-35 against the number, and I immediately start thinking about ceiling versus floor. If this matchup plays out like a talent gap game at home, Houston should control it. Now Houston is coming off a 125-105 win over Utah Jazz, and that matters because before that Utah game they had scored 106 or less in 6 of previous 7 games. That offensive dip was real. So one path I see here is that 125-105 win over Utah Jazz being a confidence stabilizer, almost like they shook something loose offensively. Meanwhile Sacramento is coming off a 123-14 win over Memphis, and I know that gives them momentum, and I know they're 6-6 against the spread after a win, but I don't automatically trust that. Especially when I layer in that Houston off a win is 13-21 against the number. So yes, the trend says Houston off a win hasn't been great. But what connects for me is matchup history and location. Because Sacramento has beaten Houston twice this season, December 21st in Sacramento, 125-124, and January 11th in Sacramento, 111-98. That's not random. That's 2 wins in the same building. But when they played December 3rd in Houston, it was 121-95, blowout win for Rockets. So if this matchup plays out in Houston like it did December 3rd, the Kings don't have the same comfort. Oh, and Sacramento's first 2 games of this road trip they're 2-0 against the spread. They covered plus 18.5 against the San Antonio Spurs and snuck in backdoor cover, which tells me they're scrappy, they'll hang around, but are they actually winning these games consistently at 0-46? That's where I hesitate. Houston has an upcoming road trip, games against Orlando and Miami, and there's mention of second half of back-to-back playing Orlando on Thursday, so could they look ahead? Sure. That's the risk. But if this matchup plays out like a focused revenge spot, because this is absolutely a revenge spot for Houston after losing December 21st 125-124 and January 11th 111-98, then I think it's more likely Houston blows out Kings than Kings compete. And that's really what it comes down to for me. The Kings are 6-6 against the spread after a win, Houston is 13-21 against the number off a win. But talent at home, revenge, and the 121-95 blueprint from December 3rd all point one direction. So yeah, I'm laying it with Houston. That's why the lean sticks at Houston laying the points. Last game of this slate is Denver Nuggets vs Boston Celtics. The lean here is Celtics and the points. Let me walk through why. Denver Nuggets come in 36-22 on the year and 32-26 against the number, and they're coming off a 128-117 loss to Golden State. And that loss matters because that was part of a 3-game road trip, 3 games in 4 nights, against Clippers, Blazers, and then Warriors in that loss. And that Warriors team was described as a Steph Curry-less Warriors team, and Denver still took a 128-117 loss. So now they come home where they're 15-11 this season at home, and historically you think Denver at home is dominant. But then I look at Boston. Boston has won 3 in a row, won 8 of last 9, and they're on the second half of a back-to-back, playing Phoenix Suns Tuesday, on no rest. And I get it, that's not ideal. But Boston on no rest this year, second half of a back-to-back, is 6-3 against the number. That's not bad. That tells me they've handled these spots. Now Denver is a home favorite is 8-10 against the number, winning by average of 7.3 points per game. So when I hear that and then I hear the spread discussion around whether Celtics are 4.55 points worse than Denver, I start thinking about margins. If Denver wins by average of 7.3 points per game is a home favorite, but they're 8 to 10 against the number in that role, that tells me the market often inflates them. So if this matchup plays out tight, and I think it does, because Boston is playing better basketball right now, won 3 in a row, won 8 of last 9. Then I don't know if they're truly 4.55 points worse, especially when this could be a 3-point game. One path I see here is Jokic and Jamal Murray doing their thing, sure, but Jaylen Brown answering, and if Jason Tatum comes back in any capacity. That changes the equation entirely. And if this turns into that potential finals preview type of atmosphere, I trust Boston's form. The back-to-back is not ideal, but Boston has shown ability to push through at 6-3 against the number on no rest. And I'm getting points with team playing better basketball, and possibly the better team. So even with Denver at 36-22 and 32-26 against the number, even with 15-11 at home, even with 7.3 points per game average margin as a home favorite, the question still stands, were Celtics really 4.55 points worse? I don't think so. I think this could be a 3-point game. So yeah, give me Celtics and the points. That's why the lean remains Celtics and the points. Alright, that wraps it up for all 6 NBA matchups on February 25th. As always, this was analysis and opinion only, nothing guaranteed, just me working through how these games could realistically unfold if the fatigue, the revenge spots, the back-to-backs, and the matchup edges show up the way they look on paper. I'm curious how you're playing this slate, so drop a Z in the comments and tell me which game you feel strongest about. Are you riding Memphis in the fatigue spot, laying it with Spurs, backing Pistons again, trusting Cavaliers' firepower, taking Rockets in revenge, or grabbing points with Boston? Let's talk it out. More breakdowns coming soon, same raw format, same deep dives, same beyond the box score energy. I'll see you in the next one.